Okay, so remember where we kind of left off. Oh, let me fix the lights for you. Where we kind of left off was the list of points that we generated were not in the right place, right? So I mentioned to you that this is going to have to be something we're going to work with. However, if I just do a simple divide, it's not going to align. So this element right here is essentially not what we're looking for, but I just wanted you to understand that you can do these things with points or with other elements. So I know that a number of us have approached it a few different ways. A few of us are working with points. A few of us are working with the surface. And so I'm going to show you what I see is one of the most direct paths forward. Okay, and it's going to get rather expansive. You'll notice that we now have these big blocks that are associated with our definition. Let's just jump into it. Okay, so these right here, and I've had this discussion with a number of you already. These shafts have been created with a geometry that we already generated. We also are trying to align the structure of these shafts, the horizontal structure of these shafts, with the slabs that we already created and placed in space. So ultimately, we can start to create our horizontal datum for the box frame using the information we've already generated. And that would be this right here. So we have a series of numbers that started at 15 and then went up 12 feet every time, or every level since then, and that created this. So we have the ability to do the same thing, but we're going to do it using an offset of the surface that we created in order to generate our shaft. So ultimately, if I can just take these surfaces right here, these are the ones that I used for the shaft extrusions. Let me turn the shaft off so we can see what's going on. That'll serve my purposes here for this case. So I'll take all four of those and plug them into a move. And then I can borrow the same extrusion. I could just plug this directly into it. Whoops. Okay, and this is, if you did it exactly the same way I did it, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see one on the first level, one on the second level, one on the third level, and then fourth level. And then that fourth level one is going to carry all the way up. That is because the lists are both flattened. And they basically are going to take your four surfaces and apply them to the first four translation vectors and then stop there. So if you need them to go in groups of four all the way up, then this needs to be, sorry, not flattened, a grafted list. And that's going to create this. Now the reason I have so many is because I sort of went overboard on my extrusion, or rather my copies, I should say. And those are, where are those? How many did I do? Ah, yeah, there we go. The series. So I could just reduce the series. Oh, that's right, it is calculating extras. Hang on. Alright, so we're back up and running. I move this down. Actually, I probably need to jump it down another notch. So it calculated for a while. So let me just count this. I've got 16 going right now. I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 less. So I'll change this to 8. And let it calculate. All right, we're back. Okay, so we have our I hesitate to call them arrays or anything like that. I'll call them copies or moves. But anyway, so they're all here. And I'm simplifying this right now. I'm not necessarily including the first couple surfaces in this list. I'm just going to use whatever this list generated for now. Now, I've decided that my path forward is going to be to move the surfaces and then to deconstruct them into their groups of four. So I'm going to deconstruct this list of surfaces right now and then look at the point structure. And that'll help me help inform me on how to move forward. So under display and vector, I'm going to use this point list, and I'm going to look at this right here. Okay, so what's happening is the lists are being generated 0, 1, 2, 3 for each of the particular panels. So what I want to do is to basically break this list up into essentially a grouping of all of the points that are in each of the vertical, I'll call them towers or shafts, right? And that's because I can use a generated series of numbers that are going to tie them between the two different levels. Right now, if I just say 0 to 0, it won't know what to do because each 0 doesn't know to go to the next successive 0. Does that make any sense? So anyway, what that's going to look like is that list will be flattened and then partitioned by however many stories there are times 4, essentially. So let's go to set list partition, and I'm going to use the number of stories here. So I'll go to param, I'm going to use a number, plug that in. I'm going to call this number of stories and make it wireless. Pull this up here. So this list will be flattened. You'll see some really high numbers show up, but when I plug this in and I partition it by the number of stories, that is going to be my new list. And it looks like it did it wrong. Number of stories, oh yeah, times 4, sorry. So I'll go to math, operators, multiplication. I'm just making this visual for you guys. Times a static number of 4, because these are quadrilaterals. 4. There we go. So now you can see that, and particularly that green one shows up really well. The first panel is 0, 1, 2, 3. The second panel is 4, 5, 6, 7, which essentially tells me I'm going to need a couple of lists that are going to begin from 0, 1, 2, and 3. And then a couple of lists that are going to begin from 4, 5, 6, and 7. So moving forward from that, I'm basically going to construct it off of this partition list, and I'm going to create a series of numbers and then list item them in order to allow me to tie them in groups. So let's go to the list item. Set list item. Move that aside for now. So the list is obviously going to be this partition list, the groups of, I think I have 32 of them. Yeah, 32 points. And so instead of one index or a slider index, this is going to be a series of numbers. I think this might be the first time we're using a series of numbers in order to generate an index for a list item. So we'll do, not sequence, we'll do series. And the way this is going to work is I can actually draw from other information in many cases. Now the difference here is that the start number is going to be different for every single one of them. So I'll go to param, one of these. My start number, the first one I'm going to start from 0. Then it's going to ask for the step size. And the step size is going to be a value of 4. And that's because there are 4 elements in every panel. And I'm going to construct all of my number ties from one floor to the next. Okay, I'm going to worry about my horizontal connections later because it's really just putting a pipe around my edges here. And that's done. But up here, it's just the vertical ones I'm concerned with. So I'll need a param for 4. And you can pull this one back a little bit further because it's going to connect to a few of them. And then the C input is the count. So that's how many of them there are. And this is where it's going to get a little funky sometimes. Well, actually, no, it won't. So the number is going to match the number of stories. And in fact, actually, I'm going to clean this up. really, really clean it up, and I'm just going to use number of stories like this. Okay, now, the really, really crazy part here, first let me do that, and let me slide, I'm going to slide the point value here so that you can see what it's doing. So what it did was, now it's creating a list, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, going all the way up in that same location in every single one of these vertical shafts. Are you guys following so far? All right, now let's jump forward into actually creating something with this. I need to do that for every single one of the list items that's on my first level, and I need to do that for every single one of my list items that's on the second level. So that means I need to do it for 8 different index items. And I won't have to do it for the rest because the index items that are being read are the variable in the z direction. So it just kind of copies all those ones all the way up there. So anyway, this needs to be done 8 times. And actually, I'm going to disconnect this for now. I'm going to reconnect them later on. So let me move this up, and I'm going to copy and paste 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I only need 1 4, so let me just clean this up by making it static. All right. Then I'm going to need to change the index item to match every single one of them. So I have an index item 0, and then the next one will be 1. This one will be 2. Oops. And then just carry that through 3, 4, 5, 6, and index 7. So this is kind of going to be our core, essentially. And so what we're doing now is we're going to list item the particular connections that we need, and then we're going to draw a line in between basically the index values. They're already listed here. So that's where this comes in. And in fact, I can create another wireless if I need to, if it gets too crazy, and I do believe it will. So I'm going to I'm going to basically just say vertical indices or something like that for all these points here. So I'm going to take this partitioned list. I'm going to call it, I'll call it vertical partitions. They're not going to be far apart, so you don't have to have a super mega ultra clear name for it. And that plugs in here. Whoops. There. I'm going to hold on to the points list, but I don't need it right now. Are any of you actually trying to keep up with me, or just listening? It's okay if you're just listening.
I'm trying to keep up.
Okay.
I have 12 seconds.
Okay. Yeah, sure. All right, so I'm only going to do this for a couple of cases, and I'm not going to do the entire thing. But let's look at the index value 0. And basically, if you recall, the list items were done in such a way that the index item 0s, oh, why is that not empty number parameter? 0, 4, number of stories, 8. Compute. Hang on. All right, moving on here. The points list, or the points display, I'm going to drop on here real fast, just for clarity. Okay, so these are the zeros, right? So, or these are on the bottom, it's the 0. So if I want to create the 0 to the one above it, it's going to go in the same order. So this was 0, 1, 2, 3. And then it's going to start at 4 right above it. So if I take this list item and I go down here and I grab my list item of 4, whoops, next item 4. I'm going to switch to that panel, and you'll see that it starts up here now, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then it returns number 7 at the bottom. So you will have to split the list at some point in order to reduce the number of values there are in all of the cases that you have them above. And you'll have to also split the list at the top for the next one. But you'll see how that works in just a moment. So I'm going to go to set list, and I'm going to split this list. That's this one right here. And I'm going to split it by the number of stories minus 1. So I'm just going to put an expression on this one. X minus 1. Eight, 7. Okay, so that basically takes all of my list items now, and if I move my point out and I read the A input instead, there you're going to see that it goes 0 to 6 at the top, and then it cuts off the number 7 at the bottom, and that's what the B output is. Now, that's significant because when I try to connect a line between the two, I'm going to have to connect this, and I'm going to have to connect that, and there you're going to see that it connects them all in the vertical direction. I'm going to change this, and this is the proper way I'm probably actually going to start it, but I'm going to reconnect one of these so that you can see the difference here. If I switch this to a 5 instead, now it's the diagonal, okay? And that's okay. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. However, when you select the line, you'll see that it also creates a secondary line up here that goes horizontal at the very, very top. And that's because even though our first list, this one right here, stops at number 7 at the top, that's an 8th number that is trying to be generated again with the 7th number of the list that we're connecting it to. So we do need to do a split list on that one as well. So this goes up here. In fact, I'm going to clean this up and make that connection for both and plug my A into there. Now you'll see that line, it only creates 7 items, so that's good. And then ultimately, when it comes time to actually mapping the structure, all we have to do is put a pipe on it. So that's under surface freeform pipe. Boom. With a radius of something like 0.55. I'm just guessing. Maybe smaller. Okay. So that's restructuring multiple lists. I think that that's going to be a very clear explanation for you guys, but I want you to be aware that it's almost essential for you to take advantage of your wireless connections here, because this is a real mess. All that. All right. I'm going to pause the video real quick and just get a final clip of what it looks like when it's done in the video here. All right, so just wrapping it up here. After I finished all this and I did my connections, I just labeled them vertical 0 to 4, just so that I could keep track of what the actual connections were. And then the pipes are placed, and that's what it creates. And again, right now, guys, I'm not concerned about the actual direction of the diagonals. I just want to see that you can pinpoint a diagonal. And oh, there's one more I would do, and that would just be taking the edges of these and plugging it in up here. There. So with these off. Yep. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So that's essentially what you should have for the exterior structure element. It's, again, guys, this is a very kind of almost barbaric industrial looking structure. It's more of an exercise for you to just understand how to piece together different structural elements in an architectural condition. Any questions?